green, and I'm pretty sure the audience can hear me talking about this, and I just don't care because that's the nature of Twitch. It's a beautiful medium. It's so fun. I've never argued with more people in my life than on Twitch. Oh yeah, they just have a lot of opinions that I don't agree with. I'm glad I could do that for you. Yay, we're live. Ooh, and we have an ad already. Ooh, you garnered an ad already? Yo, what's up, Vixen? No, this is someone else. What's going on? Yeah. No, no, take me to my channel. Here we go. All right. So yeah, we're live. This all looks good. It's not green, if you were concerned. So that's so funny. I have no idea why that happened. Why I want to keep doing this, and it's like I don't want to have to deal with this nonsense all the time. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like a fun element to add that it's like live from your house. But let's get all this stuff shut down. So then if I go to my 8-bit loading screen, let's make sure that transition works. Because you should see now some like samurai dude. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, it's a part of the gaming thing. Yes. And now people do this. They do D&D games. They do cooking. They do anything you can imagine. I've seen DJs go for hours. Yeah, there's comedy shows. I've been a huge proponent. I was actually, I've talked to a couple comedians about doing shows here. And it's just figuring out how to make it profitable. Because you almost need to make like a 24-hour segment, pre-record it, and then have people jump in live in between. Because you got to be live for like 8 to 10 hours to make money. Yeah. Yeah, it's a job. But if you're ready, I'm ready.
It's Twitch Live.
Woo! Welcome, Abby Holland. Thank you so much for being here. It is your first time live on Twitch. Let's say hello to everybody. Oh my
God. Hello everybody. I wish I could see them, but like I can't really see them right now, but that's cool. I'll speak to the general people who are here.
You can
and
feel
who
them
came to
though.
listen.
You can sense their presence. And they came here to see you, and I love you. That's why you're here. I think you're amazing. And now it's time to tell everybody else why I think you're amazing. Please, for those who don't know you, Abby, can you just tell us who you are and maybe how we met?
Oh my God. God, where to start? I mean, I feel like I've had a few different like lives or careers, I guess you could say. But I mean, what I do right now is I am a producer on a Sirius XM show called The Michelle Collins Show. It's a comedy show, pop culture. It's a morning show every day, so I get up very early. But my background and what I moved to New York City to do was comedy. I think my goal when I first moved here was like, my goal was to do comedy. And I feel like I have, gone through many versions of that. I started off doing improv and sketch through the Upright Citizens Brigade and the People's Improv Theater and the Magnet. And through that, I was performing all the time. I did a lot of musical improv. And I met all of my lovely friends that we started this sketch group called Buzz Off Lucille, which was kind of a fun, we did video sketches and we did live sketches at UCB. And that's to segue into how I met you. I guess we're brought in by mutual friends who were working with us, who were filming a video for us for our show at UCB. And I feel like I remember we were in like a rental like practice space that like people from the Magnet used a lot, and in the 26th Street and like 6th Avenue in some building, I think is where we met in New York City.
That's how most people in New York meet. Is
Yeah.
somebody took me to this random building and there was these other
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, we met there, and you shot our promo video, I think, for our live show that we had up at UCB. And then through that, I think you also came and started to work. Well, my sketch group, Buzz Off Lucille, we were hired as a writing team to be the writing team for what is now Abortion Access Front, which is, abortion rights. It's a nonprofit, and we would bring comedy, believe it or not, to abortion access. So we then, you came and shot some stuff for us there too. And yeah. And then the rest is history. And then a pandemic happened, and now I'm in radio.
Right. And this was all the before times.
Yeah, this was BC, before Corona. Yeah. So
and I've told you this before. I still tell people very proudly that I worked with you at Abortion Access Front, and that is something I take a lot of pride in. And I also tell people that comedy is the most fun way to be poor. Because
yeah,
it's so difficult in New York to actually like make money at this. So I was always so impressed by you because you were doing it. You were in there. You were a part of all these troops, all these shows. Man. Your name was a known thing to me, which is what impressed me the first time I met you, is because you were just like, "Oh, hey, how's your coffee?" And I was like, "She seems nice. And she's doing it all. That's so cool."
Oh my God, to have it all.
You're in radio now. So what is that like in comparison? I mean, you were doing live shows, you were doing sketches. What are the similarities, and how do you differentiate the two?
Yeah, I mean, to truncate it a little bit, I was working in TV as a segment producer for a long time. I worked at VH1 and MTV while simultaneously doing the improv and sketch and all of that. So from VH1 and MTV kind of not took a dive, but like how do I say this? Fired everybody.
They took a dive. Let's be real.
They took a dive.
And
this was, yeah, and you've probably done stuff with them, I'm sure, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I remember when they stopped calling.
yeah, that was probably around the time when they fired everybody, and in like 2014 I got a call from like my executive producer, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Best Week Ever is just not coming back and you're fired." we were all freelance then anyway, so I wasn't technically an employee. We were all permalance,
right?
So it was like project based. When your project ended, you would end.
Of course, permalance is the rudest moniker we have. It's like, hey, we want to hire you all the time, but you get no benefits, no health care.
Yeah. So when that happened, I decided to pursue writing and comedy like full time, and that's kind of when Abortion Access happened, and I was doing that for a few years, and then I was outside of well, not totally outside of the producing world, because I was producing stuff for them too. And I guess it was exciting because I was like, I got paid like I was a comedy writer. You know what I mean? I got to say I was a comedy writer, which is like one of the goals of doing comedy, of my goal when I was 22. But after a while, I will say one of the things that happens when you work in a nonprofit space, especially with a topic like abortion, like we traveled the US and we met with abortion clinics and their staff and people wanting to have an abortion. It can be a heavy topic. And I'm so happy and so proud to have been a part of that. And I learned so much, but it can take a toll on you, especially mentally, and especially when Orange 45 was in office. And that was like the prime time of when I was at Abortion Access Front. And after a while, it started to chip away at me, and I kind of needed to take a back seat, like for some self-care, I guess. And I limited my hours. And then I just decided at one point that I wanted to go back into production somehow, into, get a writing job on like a Sam B or something like that. Or, I kind of just decided that I wanted to do that somehow. And I put the feelers out, and I came across the Michelle Collins show and Sirius XM, and I didn't really know much about it. I didn't really see myself going back into radio. I say back because I had like a radio show in college, and I interned at a radio station in college, 98 PXY, the #1 hit music station in Rochester, New York.
Get it?
Yeah, I remember really liking it, but for some reason at that time, like 2002, 3, 4, 5, like people were telling you, and I'm sure you too, in like the media, they're like, TV, like digital things, like this is where it's going. And it almost seemed at that time that audio and radio were kind of dying. Boy, are they laughing now, because now it's like thriving. And so I kind of took a chance. I saw the job posting and I was like, you know what? I'll do radio. Like that sounds fun. And I knew Michelle a little bit because she is a hilarious comedian in New York. And she worked at Best Week Ever when I was an intern way back in the day at VH1. So we kind of had a little bit of a connection, and we have a similar like comedic sensibilities, and I got the job. And, I feel like I was just like sliding down a cliff, just being like, okay, here we go. And all of a sudden I'm in this medium now that I'm so lucky to have been in, because it's now thriving in this pandemic world.
Yeah.
Did I even answer a question? I don't even know where. I think I blacked out.
I think you had a conniption and had a spiritual revelation there, as you just encountered that you were gifted the best job ever at the perfect time.
Wow. Did I just piss all of everybody off? Everyone left.
No.
The Twitch room.
Everyone's like, oh, she's successful and happy. This is not what I came here for.
Jesus Christ. No, we could talk about that shit too. I have been sad in my life, and so if I'm enjoying just a little bit of like, something, just trust me, it hasn't been like that always, and you can have it too.
This is something for me, because I have been sad too. I have been clinically depressed. I had a concussion several years ago where I was clinically depressed. It was a problem, and I faced a lot of difficulties. Now that you find yourself happy, finding yourself in some amount of success, is there a voice in you that almost from the darkness is trying to get you to retreat? Do you experience that?
Oh yeah, there's always the, waiting for the other foot to drop feeling of, like I can't enjoy this too much, or how dare I be happy when others are suffering. There's so much turmoil in our country. Like there's like a guilt there a little bit. And I go to therapy every week. Like I've worked on myself. I work on taming these thoughts that come in, my inner critic, my judgmental little, can I swear on this?
Yeah, fuck it. Say anything you want.
Okay. So well, because it's a name, I will say it's a proper noun. One of my inner critics, I took this class, this goal setting class, and we did all these like fun exercises. And one of the things she had us do was draw our inner critics, whatever they may be. And the first one that came to mind for me, which I drew out, his name is Fucker Frank. And he is, that's his name. He came to me. I didn't make it up. He's wearing a beret. He's an asshole. French, I guess. I was a French exchange student. I can say that. Cigarette, sitting in a chair, so judgy. And fucker Frank comes up for me a lot because he is the inner critic that's like, how dare you think you could do this? How dare you enjoy this happiness? Just wait. Just wait. You go enjoy that. And then 5 minutes later, all the world's gonna fall apart. But
Is that fair to you? I mean, I hate to like cut you off, but like that it's not right. Like you should be allowed to enjoy your success. Is it something that's happening to us from the outside world? Is there pressure to be sad? Do you think this?
ooh, I mean, that's an interesting topic, and I think specifically with artists and performers and comedians, there's this idea that the artist needs to suffer, that you're not really doing it unless you're like, you hear all these stories that are glamorized, like, oh, Amy Poehler was like, she was living off of like nothing, and that means like she really had the drive and she had to do it. And you hear stories like Jim Carrey, he lived in his car with his family, and I guess that's a different thing because that was like his childhood. But like you hear these stories of people making it and how like they suffered so much, and you're like, well, that's like a true stamp of like they really wanted it. But in recent years, I've tried to like switch that narrative in my head because it doesn't help. Like the idea that you need to be sad and uncomfortable and suffering all the time shouldn't be what it takes to be successful in an art form. What happens if someone is happy and they do succeed? There's that narrative of like you were just saying, what you brought up before, like seeing someone being successful or something that might to a viewer seem like, well, fuck you. But I don't know, I can't solve the world right now, but I wish that
I know we
could change.
I know you very well, and I know that you're doing everything you can to help. So I am here just passively listening. And by the way, S.A. Holland says, make me laugh, fucker Frank. Thank you for jumping in.
Nice. Make me laugh, fucker Frank. Yeah. Fucker Frank. He says that to me often, and I'm like, well, I'm trying, Frank. Just back off.
I want to circle back to this though, because you're hitting on something that I think is so important. I hate the concept of the starving artist, because it's this lie we tell people that in order to be successful, you must starve, you must suffer. But in reality, anyone who's truly made it gains wealth, gains success, and utilizes that to perpetuate their art.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you balance this within yourself so that you still feel like you are creating, but without like rejecting the suffering?
My God. Wow. I mean, sorry, there's like a siren going off, and I'm like, I live across the street from a Subway too, and there's like so many noises. You might have to repeat the question once again. I was like completely distracted.
It's the idea for you.
Okay.
How do you balance your success against like fulfilling yourself creatively when we're battling this pressure of the starving artist? Like, how do you realize this for yourself?
Wow. It's such I mean, therapy. I honestly like, I've gone through so many, phases of feeling that exact feeling of feeling like I needed to suffer, feeling like I needed to like not have $100 in my bank account to be successful, or to have that drive or something like that. And it always sparked something negative in me. And I think over time I realized that the negativity was just weighing me down and not actually helping me with anything. I'm comparing it a little bit to like, so like alcohol and sobriety in a way. It's like a little bit of a journey I'm going on because I haven't drank in, 5-ish months. And so I've been like really like looking at, books and reading stuff. And so one thing they say about alcohol is like, um, you think that it's helping in the moment. Like you think that, oh, I'm lubricated, social lubricant, I'm on top of the world. But when you break down what it's actually doing to your body, the like horrible nervous system, shitty stuff it's doing to you, poisoning you, like it's actually not helping. And I think I'm comparing it to like these negative thoughts and the suffering thing because that's how it makes sense in my head. Like I think over time, once I realized what that was actually doing to me, and then I could switch that in my head, I started to turn the wheels in the other direction and stop that narrative from overtaking my everyday.
That's incredible. I think the comparison to alcoholism is perfect because it is. You almost feed off of the suffering like a drug.
Yeah.
I remember this. I used to have this similar thing where I had such a negative relationship with money. I hated money. I hated that I needed money. And I was continuously poor. I was continuously struggling. And I was living paycheck to paycheck. And then the moment I started to flip that narrative, as you say, it was like, oh, I love money. Money helps me do bigger and better things. Suddenly, the world is my oyster. And it is making that switch that I think is so important. And I really do commend you for taking the time, doing the work, being so open with me. Thank you about going to therapy. As someone who's gone to therapy himself, we should be more open. There's nothing wrong with it. Most of us should just talk to someone.
No, and you know what, to kind of like piggyback on what you were saying, it just reminded me about therapy and the suffering thing. I remember when I went on an antidepressant, and I remember like it, and I was still going to therapy at the time too. And I remember like it's starting to work. And after a couple of weeks, it takes a transition for your body to get used to whatever. But I remember like after, I think it was Zoloft, which I am not on anymore. But like after like 3 or 4 weeks, I started to feel like happy. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember going to therapy and like sitting there and being like, what am I even going to talk about? Like, I'm like so happy right now. Like I have literally nothing to talk about, but fast forward a little bit, and then the chemical evens out in your brain. Not to say that I was sad, but just realizing that like, even like, I guess what I'm trying to say is even if you are maybe content or don't feel like you're really depressed, therapy, I think, can help in the good times too. It's helped me process positive things. It's helped me process, things that aren't terrible, and like communication stuff, like it's just very helpful. And I'm just a huge like advocate of it.
I don't remember who said it, and I apologize to everybody listening, but it's the idea that you don't take your car to the mechanic when it doesn't work anymore.
Yes.
You take your car to the mechanic frequently to ensure it keeps working at the optimal performance. And our mind is so important. And there are people who have dedicated their lives to making sure that they stay working optimally. And we should be going to them. It should be, honestly, I think, a lot more accessible. And that people should be helping us get this, because we'd all be more successful. We would all be happier. We'd all have better relationships if we just saw the mental mechanic every now and then.
That's what it is. Yeah, every week I go see my mental mechanic. Abby, and who has the same name as me, which you know about.
It's just a mirror. It's just a mirror you put up in your room.
It's Abby. It's me talking to myself in my mirror in my bedroom. I'm sane, I promise. No, it's Abby with an I, who is my therapist for everybody listening. Different Abby. And it is an actual therapist. It's not Fucker Frank either.
It's not Fucker Frank.
It's Abby. She helps me a lot. And yeah, it's a perfect analogy. Mental mechanics, going to the mechanic is perfect.
I just see Fucker Frank putting on a wig and be like, "Hey, it's Abby."
Yeah, it's me, Abby. Like, what an asshole. He puts on a wig, pretends to be my therapist. Get out of here, fucker Frank.
He's great.
You know what? He's a part of my life. That's one thing I realized too. You can't get rid of fucker Frank, but you can say, hey, excuse me, you're not helping. Could you please, go over to the side? He just can't be in the driver's seat. He can be in the back, shut up, put a bottle in his mouth, but he can't be in the driver's seat.
That's huge. Because that is something people, they talk about this all the time, is like, you can never get over your trauma. You learn to live with it. It'll always be in the car with you, but maybe it doesn't affect you as much because you learn to kind of push it out. Mm-hmm. And that's a very important lesson that I had to come to terms with, and I know you obviously have been there as well. It'll always be in the car with you, but you don't always have to listen to it.
Yes. It takes practice for sure, because I think that, and I think you probably agree with this too, like that was one of the major things. Like I was like, why can't I make fucker Frank disappear? And that's what was keeping me back this whole time, because it wasn't about making him disappear. It's about exactly what you're saying. It's about living with him, pushing it mentally to the side a little bit, and living with him.
Living with him and not letting him take over.
Yes.
And that's
exactly.
Honestly, I mean, it's not easy, but it's way easier than trying to get rid of, which is the mistake I think a lot of people make.
Right.
There is so much I want to talk to you about. I do want to switch gears here a little bit, and I want to talk to you about the Melissa Etheridge cruise that you were on. Please, you did a documentary. You interviewed all these amazing women. Please, what was this?
Wow, you know what? What was it is right, and it was awesome. And I may have been on maybe one of the last cruises before 2020. Right. I went. It was the first. So, I guess where to begin? I found out I know Jill Sobule, who is this amazing singer, activist. I met her through Abortion Access Front, and she, if you don't know her, as one of her most famous songs from the 90s was "I Kissed a Girl." So she also did the song in Clueless that "I'm gonna be a supermodel." So she's like this cool chick. You know it. We all
I'm
love
gonna put her album on after the show. Yeah,
I got it. Yeah. So I met her and we became friendly. I started helping her out with social media stuff, and she said, "Hey, I'm going on this Melissa Etheridge cruise." And I was like, what? And I didn't realize at the time that was like a thing. And now I'm like, oh, they're everywhere. Like people have comedy cruises. People have, probably have QAnon cruises. Well, not now, but like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's a good thing. But we're going there. But so I was like, I think I had this like crazy thought, and it was my producer brain was kind of going crazy because I'm a huge music fan. I have a musical background. I did musical theater. I'm connect with music so much. And I wanted to combine like feminism with like these musicians. And I was like, you know what if I went on this cruise with Jill and I interviewed all these women, and I like brought a camera person with me, and, we filmed it, and then I would get all these perspectives, and it was when Trump was president too. I did this. Yeah, it was a while ago. I still have yet to put it all together, but putting that aside, I ended up doing that. I brought a videographer with me. Do we even say videographer anymore? A DP? I brought a DP with me.
Oh, there is a difference.
Oh shit. Okay, what's the difference?
How much you're paying them.
Okay.
So a DP is the big job. A videographer is someone you hire.
I probably brought a videographer of sorts. I ain't rich, but so she came with me. I knew her. We didn't really know each other. And it's so funny because we didn't really know each other, and also like I was single, and people who like didn't really know me or didn't really know her probably thought that we were like going together on this like love affair or something. But it was just funny. We weren't, but whatever. I didn't care.
This is my videographer.
This is my videographer. No shame to anybody. But I'm passionate. So yes, so we went and I got to interview Jill Sobule, Paula Cole, Dar Williams. If anyone else knows her, she was a singer-songwriter from the 90s. Very cool. She teaches, she's like a professor now. She's like a feminist. And um oh, who was the other? There Lucy Spraggan, she was like on X Factor. She's this British chick. She's really awesome. All of these amazing women I had access to, and I'm very passionate about music, feminism, LGBTQ rights. And I wanted to talk about them all at once into this kind of like verite. This, I interviewed people who were on the cruise too. So I not only interviewed, Paula and Jill. I met people on the cruise who were there, and I asked them about like what the cruise meant to them, and it was so amazing because there were a lot of women on there who said to me, this is like the first time, this cruise is the only time I feel like I can be myself. I can feel like I can be out with my partner. And I'm not being prejudiced against, in the real world. And Melissa creates this, kind of utopia, this love boat, I guess you could say, of just like mostly women, I will say, but there was a handful of men. But there were a lot of lesbians. There were a lot of straight people too. So it's a mix of people. But the women who identified as lesbians would say, this is where I feel like my best, and I can hang out with like-minded people, and we feel free to be ourselves and be loved. And it was just like a beautiful experience, and it was a story that I wanted to tell. And I can't wait to finally finish editing it so it can be like shared with the world.
And that's such an amazing thing, and it's such a tragedy of modern times that one cruise a year somebody feels safe.
Yeah.
That's our fault. Like, we have failed society so badly if someone cannot feel safe more than once a year. But I think
Yeah.
you're making an amazing project. I cannot wait to see this movie. And I know you told me this is probably what started your podcast as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was the kickoff point because I, wanted to have, obviously when you're making a documentary, you have hours and hours of footage, and a lot of the stuff people don't get to hear or they don't get to see. And I think I started my podcast, Disaster Feminist Podcast, because I wanted to share full interviews of the people that I interviewed, because they're not going to be able to see it in the doc. And so I kind of started it off like that, and I think, and then it kind of led to everything else, and I'm wanting to talk to more people about many other things. And I think like, I still struggle with, the kind of like tagline of my podcast, and I guess what I mean by like disaster feminism is kind of like, a lot of the times I feel like a very imperfect feminist sometimes, and I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to, you know, get into the shoes of somebody else or figure it out. And sometimes I'll say the wrong thing. Sometimes I'll, have a thought that I think is not good. And I'm always kind of, it's almost like a self-discovery of, you know, dissecting feminism imperfectly. So I think I just
You are
named it that because of that.
preaching to the choir, though. Because I cannot tell you, and everybody watches the show knows this about me. I'm a huge feminist. I openly promote gender equality in every single thing that I do. And I say the wrong thing all the time, especially as a white cis male. I am learning every day new ways to communicate. And the newest one for me is Viana, my wife and I. We often use husband and wife. And I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. But there is something to respect by using the term partner at the
Mm-hmm.
correct times to open up the space to people who are non-conforming relationships. Because,
Yes.
two women can say, oh, this is my wife, this is my wife. Two men can say, this is
Yeah.
my husband, this is my husband. And when people start putting their identities and their gender like politics into it, some people need to be able to say, this is my partner. So I have been
Yeah.
practicing using that and just, not, I would say, too much, I guess, because I feel like there's some point it becomes signaling, which it's just a very silly thing to do.
Yes.
But what I'm saying all this to get to is when you make a mistake, when you screw up, when you stumble in your feminism, how do you recover? How do we keep pushing? What are your strategies to move past these little mistakes so you can be better?
This is like the $100,000 question of the century. You know what I mean? I guess in speaking with myself and what I've experienced over the past 5, 6, 7 years of working in the, nonprofit space, working in the feminist space, I guess for me, I'm trying to explain. So I had a coworker, a Black woman who is amazing, and I love her so much. We were having a conversation about something, and I remember, I'm forgetting all the details, but she called me out on something, and I'm remembering that moment and how I felt. I think I compared like the women's march to maybe like, I think I said something to the effect of, oh, it feels like an exciting time. It feels like a civil rights movement or something. And it can, and she pointed out to me, and I'm so thankful for her for doing this, that I shouldn't be comparing that. And she's like, I really wouldn't say that like that again. And she just kind of told me in a way that was just like, hey, that's probably not the best thing to do, because, civil rights has a huge history, and there's so many different things involved with that, and you shouldn't be comparing it to this type thing. And I remember sitting with it and feeling shame at first, and feeling embarrassed, stupid. But I think I'm proud of myself for kind of just sitting with it for a moment and staying curious, and kind of like responding to her and being like, oh, I didn't realize that it came across like that. Like, I'm not going to say it like that again. And I think maybe the lesson that I learned was to not be so defensive, not and staying curious about the world. And I think this is like, my God, with cancel culture, with everything like that, I think a lot of people don't want to be canceled for saying something, because I think there's shame in it. There's like, you're doing something wrong. And sometimes that is correct. But I think what we can learn as someone who's on the receiving end of learning something or kind of taking criticism is to kind of just like stay calm and digest it and stay curious. I mean, that's all that's like coming to my mind. And I think that's the major tactic that has helped me, is to just really not get so defensive about it, and kind of like see yourself a little bit outside of the situation, so you can be more calm and not so combative with it.
It's almost that easy. Don't be so defensive. Don't turn combative. Accept that somebody is being so generous right now with like positive criticism.
Yeah.
Internalize it and be like, I will try harder and do better next time. Because so often it's the answer is, oh, I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
that's such an easy. Who knows everything?
Mm-hmm.
There's no one in this world who has it all figured out. We all stumble over our words. We all stumble over optics and things like this.
Yeah.
And I think what you said is perfect. Just say, I didn't know. Thank you. I will do better. Like, that's all it has to be. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I know it's often tough to reflect upon our mistakes, but I think
it's so hard.
But it's the only way we grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to add that like that process has helped me through all aspects of my life. I think I grew up and maintained as an adult like a huge avoidance of accepting criticism, of taking fault in anything. I mean, I think maybe that's a part of being a young person in general, I guess. But like, I think I spent a lot of my life avoiding faults.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's my own psychology or whatever, but I think something that a lot of people do too. And I think once I broke that a little bit, once I was able to just kind of like, okay, I'm not perfect. And kind of just accept that the feeling on the other side of that is so much better.
It's amazing, right? Because
Yeah.
for me, it's the divorcing of the idea that I'm not a mistake. I made a mistake.
Yes, it isn't your identity that. Yes, exactly.
I'm not a failure. That was a failed attempt. You like exactly. It's not who you are. It's just something you did, and you can fix it. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Abby. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
man.
we got to
We're
know
going
though,
deep.
what's next for you? You're doing all these amazing things. You're so funny. You're so talented. What are you doing next?
Oh my God, the big question. Well, I mean, I think everyone's asking them asking themselves that in a different way now that the world is a little bit different. Um, I don't know. I mean, for the time being, my goals have been honestly to continue my podcast and to get my documentary done. Those are essentially what my, pandemic projects were and are. And they're really important to me, and they're kind of a bigger thing. And I think other than that, I think maybe I'm focusing on this journey of sobriety probably, and
Yes.
like I'm dating somebody new, like the idea that I could maybe be like happy in a relationship, that, I mean, those are more, personal things, but like I think this whole pandemic has really, you not only had people question careers and their paths in life, but like their personal journeys and how they want to live their life, how they want to be. I mean, a lot of people are moving out of New York City. A lot of creative people I know are like moving out to this country and having kids, saying goodbye to this busy bee rat race. And I find myself questioning that sometimes. But I guess, yeah, the main things are the podcast and the documentary and possibly being in love. Oh my God.
Oh my god, I need to know so much about that off air. Let's talk. All right, but your podcast, I mean, your comedy, where can people find you? Where are you?
So where am I? I mean, so you can find, I mean, Buzz Off Lucille's kind of taken a hiatus, but we have a ton of sketches online, Buzz Off Lucille on YouTube, and you can see stuff that John made for us. JT made for us. I'll get it right. I'll get it right. Fucker Frank said it, not me. Um, and yeah, I'm on Instagram, Disaster Feminist, and my personal one, which is, I guess it's whatever. Abby Holland Pics is my Instagram. And oh my God, where else?
Where
I
can
guess
they
those
hear
are
your show? Where can they hear Michelle Collins' show?
oh yeah, in the Michelle Collins show. So if you subscribe to SiriusXM, and I know it's like another subscription, it's like kill me, I know, but uh Michelle Collins show that I'm also on as well, on air with her for at least the beginning portion. She's the talent. She's hilarious and wonderful. It is so much her show, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. But yeah, you will hear me from time to time on it, and that it's live from 8 to 10 in the morning every single day. Well, Monday through Friday. And yeah, that's on the SiriusXM app or in your car.
Huge. Huge. She's live in your car
Live in your
anytime you
car.
want her. Well, technically 8 to 10.
Oh, and my podcast, you can hear it on anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher. Maybe I'll add it to Twitch. Who knows?
You should. And I can't wait to be back on your show. Love what you're doing. Love the whole thing. I have to know though, and I feel like we've talked about this, and I feel like I'm almost repeating a question. But is there one overarching life philosophy or like mantra that you live by? Is there something you carry with you to keep you going?
The first thing that comes to mind is it I think I actually made it my like high school quote, like in my senior my senior year, they like ask you for a quote. And over the years, it has stuck with me. Okay, so two come to mind, but the first one is the high school one, and I think it's very basic, very basic bitch 17, 18-year-old would come up with. Is it's better to have done something. It's better to have done something than have not, or it's better to have regretted to do. It's not even clear in my head. What is it? It's basically it's better to have regretted done something than to have not done it.
Right.
Yes.
I love this idea. It's the idea of like, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. It's better to regret attempting to do something than to have never attempted it in the first place.
Yes. And I think that has gotten me through a lot. Like it pushed me, like I come from a small town in upstate New York, and it pushed me to like dream big and move to New York City. That pushed me to do that. And the other one is that perseverance has a way of making obstacles disappear. Something along the lines of that. Basically, like passion and perseverance and kind of like grit can really push over time, almost like the snail wins the race kind of thing. Almost like, you know, if you kind of keep going and you persevere, like you can really achieve things. I can't believe I just said that. Who the fuck am I?
That's so
you can
real.
Really do it.
But that's so real. That's so true. If I may, if you come up to an obstacle or you come up to a wall, if you stop, you lose. But if you pull out anything, even a rock nearby, and just start chipping, eventually you'll break through. I think that's a great lesson, and it's so important.
Yeah. And that has helped me a lot in my life. And I think that's more so than the first one. Or a combination of them both has really helped me sustain myself through a lot of obstacles in life.
I think those are beautiful. I think those are both amazing, and two things I'll probably carry with me now the rest of my life.
Yay.
There's only one other thing we do here at Nobody Loves You, and we ask everybody this: how do you say I love you?
Oh my God. You know, the first thing that's popping in my mind is the love language, and how do I love? And I think over the years I've learned that acts of service and positivity have really been a way that I show someone that I care about them. Like I don't know, even as something as stupid as like taking out someone's trash, or you know, one thing I like to do when I go to someone's house and I see that the icicle things are empty, I'll refill it for them. Like that's the type of shit. Like it's like a little bit of an act of service. I think that's how I mainly do it, because sometimes it's hard for me to say it in words. The verbal I love you and the verbal compliments of sorts are a little bit hard for me, but I'm more of like an action-based love person.
That's amazing. And I think it's such an important thing. And I was about to say the exact idea you had is I take the garbage out. I do the dishes. The things that somebody like has to do every day that they just don't want to, you just do it. And without the masking.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like a secret, like I feel like I'm constantly at like friends' houses. Well, not anymore. Like, like putting in a fresh thing of toilet paper. And not because I'm diarrheaing all over their toilet, everybody at once thinking and using all their toilet paper. It's because they happen to have their toilet paper empty.
And it's just the simplest thing you can do for someone is you're showing that you care, that you are paying attention to their needs. And I also love that you called ice cubes icicles. And I hope you never stop that. And that you... and that you're constantly putting icicles in people's fridges. They're like, damn
Oh,
it, Abby was here again.
like,
That
yeah.
fucker Frank Prankster.
Oh my God. I'm constantly putting ice daggers in people's freezers. Wow.
It's so
Yep.
amazing. Thank
Acts
you
of service for me.
so much for being here, Abby. This has been an absolute pleasure. I believe your mother loves you so much. She's saying so. JQ Adams apparently is important to you.
Oh,
And
wait, I don't know who that is.
your S.A. Holland said
That's
JQ.
that's my mom.
Yeah, that's your mom. I figured. She seems very
Ah.
sweet. I can tell by the way she types that she's a sweet lady. I can tell, ma'am. I can hear it in your clicks. I can't thank you enough for being here. You're an amazing woman. I've loved getting to know you over the years. I can't wait to work with you again and make more beautiful, amazing things. So best of luck to you on Disaster Feminists, on your upcoming documentary, on producing your show, on your comedy, all the things.
All the
Uh,
things.
Thank you for being here. I love you. And everyone else, have a wonderful day.